station, Manx Radio.
This is Judith Lay welcoming you to Manx Radio and to the podcast of this week's edition of At Your Service.
Manx Radio.
Today, something is happening on this programme that I never would have believed possible. Someone is speaking for me. Yes, these are Judith's words, but the voice belongs to Ilama, and she's an AI voice, a voice created by a computer. But this isn't a gimmick. Without Ilama, I couldn't actually make this programme. Earlier this week, I started to lose my voice. I thought that if I cut down on the chatting, it would soon come back. But I was wrong. My voice just got less, and by last night there was nothing. However, whilst I did have a bit of a voice earlier in the week, I recorded a conversation that's interesting and packed with positive thinking. And that's what I want to share with you today, after we've had some music, of course.
I see your face in every sunrise. The colors of the morning are inside your eyes. The world awakens in the light of the day. I look up to the sky and say, you're beautiful. I see a part in the moonlit night where planets are in motion and galaxies are bright. We are amazed in the light of the stars. It's all proclaiming who you are. You're beautiful. Sitting on your heavenly throne, soon we will be coming home. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. I see your face, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful.
That's Beautiful, sung for us by Sylvia Burnside. Now for that conversation recorded at the beginning of the week, whilst I still had a voice. I went to Douglas to visit the only church actually situated on Douglas Promenade.
You may know this church on the Promenade in Douglas as the illuminated cross, a beacon during dark nights on the Promenade. You might know it from the time when it was always called the Loch Prom Church. You might know it from the Sunday night series of concerts. You might know it because it's got a very convenient bus stop right outside. It's been a part of the Douglas landscape for many years. Do you know it as the Prom Space? Because that is its new identity. And it's not just a name change. There's a real considered thought about this, and there's a plan. And that's what we're going to find out about this morning in conversation with Amanda Walker and Stephanie Gray. Stephanie, first of all, welcome to the programme. I think it's the first time for you, isn't it?
It is. Thank you for inviting myself and Amanda to be part of it. It's great.
Well, we always like to know about new ventures. Let's rewind and see how we got to this point where you're trying this new Prom Space. Tell me the thinking behind it, Stephanie.
It was probably just after COVID when I think a lot of churches across the island and globally were struggling with their finances, really. Church faced the possibility of having to close the doors because of the financial side. And a number of prom members who are excellent at business, excellent in accountancy, joined with other members with different skills and talents. And we set up a prom working group to look at and to review what the purpose of church was. There's been a church present on Douglas Promenade since the 1870s when it was Loch Prom. It was built then to service the visitors who came over from a lot of the mills in Northwest, and the prom was very busy at that point. And over the years, obviously, that dynamic has changed. And the building here was opened in 1976. I carried the cross with a few other members in from Union Mills. And so we've got a lot of buy-in to this church. It's been part of my heritage, as it has of a lot of other people's as well. So we didn't just want to go, well, actually, no, our finances aren't well. You know, we're going to have to face the fact of keeping our doors closed. We thought, well, let's look at a whole root and branch review of what is church, why is this church here, why is it really important for us as a church community and for the wider community in Douglas that we're here. We reviewed the value of the site, we reviewed the value of the church, we looked at other alternative uses, we looked at other areas for church that we could go to. And I think that root and branch exercise was very valuable. And Amanda had the analogy of you know, when you prune a garden, sometimes you have to cut things right back to basics to allow that to actually start to thrive and get revitalised. And from all of the work that we did, this forensic accounting, we developed a mission statement, and we identified that we are the only church on the prom. The fact that we're Methodist is almost immaterial in a way. You're right about the cross. The cross is the thing that you can see very much from the boat coming in. And we are very privileged to have a place in the centre of the commercial centre of Douglas. There's also a lot of housing along the promenade. And that we can actually use the gift that we have in our building as part of our outreach for the community and as part of our mission and our work as Christians to help society flourish and be a place that's very, very safe for people to come to. And so we looked at our lettings. We decided to rebrand our lettings part of our building as Prom Space. Associated with that now, obviously, we have our headspace and prayer space, and we have our open door and our coffee in the afternoon now. And our building is thriving now. You know, financially, it's helped in the fact that our building has got lots of occupancy. We have the One World Centre, which is based here. We have a small room downstairs that Douglas Council actually use as part of a restroom facility for their gardeners. And we have many, many different organisations using our building. We have a statement of building use. We have certain criteria that our building can, under our standing orders for the Methodist Church, be used for, and we have to be mindful always of those. So there are certain activities that we cannot allow in church. Obviously, one of them is the use of alcohol on the premises. That's a long-standing Methodist requirement. We're looking at the other parts of our building now that need refreshing because they haven't been updated since 1976, and they're tired. And with a bit of investment financially and a bit of vision, and as we're talking about the basement, we can actually provide a space with multiple rooms where people can do training sessions, where we can have filming evenings down there. It can be a workshop area. It's used at the moment for dancing. We can put some mirrors on the walls and make that a more relevant place for people to actually use it.
There's a fundamental thing here, isn't there, Stephanie? You talk about worship space, which is at the core. Prayer and a space to pray is at the heart of the church. But it's no use unless it then translates into what the community needs.
Our worship on a Sunday morning, we aren't full, but we are here. And some mornings we have 50 or 60, and other mornings it's less. When we were in church, we'd often notice that people would come in and just sit in our sanctuary and have a quiet, reflective moment. But when our building was closed, obviously that wasn't available. So we took the decision to try every day opening on our church all day, to allow people time to come in. It's open 7 days a week, to actually just have that headspace, that prayer space, that time where people can actually leave the hubbub of what's out the door. And that's been used quite a lot. We've now got some nice quiet music, blankets when it's cold that people can sit and use. And that is bringing people into church who wouldn't necessarily come on a Sunday morning, but who feel the need for some connection, or maybe just a quiet time of prayer, whatever. That's been really important, and I'm delighted that's going to continue. In terms of the other lettings, sometimes it's word of mouth. As you say, a lot of people didn't know that Prom Space, or the rooms that we have, there's so many of them and they're so varied in size. And it is a surprise when they come in, particularly the top hall, which is as wide as the Gaiety Theatre. So, when people are rehearsing for shows at the Gaiety, it's quite often they'll come here and use our top hall because you get the width and you get the blocking that's correct. On Saturday morning, we have Cafe Lingo, which was an initiative from one of our working group members, Karen Norton, and her husband, Tim, which is providing such a pivotal service for people who come to the Isle of Man whose English isn't their first language, supported by a tremendous group of volunteers. And there's two leaders on that at the moment, Sylvie and Sharon. And that's another very, very important piece of outreach that we do. Again, just based upstairs with an initiative that came from one of our members of church.
You are a Methodist local preacher, but at the same time, you've got that capacity to see that not everybody is attracted to what we would call a formal church service, but nevertheless wants to be a part of a community, and it is providing for both of those needs, isn't it?
It is, and we're hoping that if people come in and maybe they use a top hall, maybe they'll see the sanctuaries open, maybe they will come in. We do have people walking in off the streets on a Sunday because of our location, which is great. There are a lot of churches around the island that are doing different types of worship and meeting the needs of the community. But it's such an important purpose. It's part of our life. Obviously, it's our faith, and it's trying to respond to the call to love our neighbour. We have quite a few companies come here and use our building as well, which is good for training. So we have that connection with the commercial sector in Douglas. There is a lot of residential properties, and I think one of our mission groups is looking at actually how we reach the residents in the Douglas area. It's a long project. We've been together now as a group, as I said, since about 2020, 2021, I think, as a working group. And we've got a long-term plan, not only for the building in terms of things we'd love to do as an eco-church, putting solar panels on, but also in terms of our mission and our outreach. And like we were talking before, about continually evolving. Personally, I think, we've been a bit static. We haven't kept up with what society needs, expects, wants. Sunday mornings are very busy now with lots of social events on. And so that's why maybe we could look to trying something midweek, whilst recognising there is the traditional, there is the need for that continuity of Methodism, and there is a style of worship that goes with that, which has its own value as well, really. But we Zoom our services now. Our services are available on Zoom, so we can keep in contact with people throughout the world. We are now blessed that we can actually have same-sex marriages in church. So there's a lot going on, and it's all very exciting and very positive.
Amanda Walker is another member of the team creating a new future for the Prom Space, the Methodist Church on the Promenade here in Douglas.
Amanda, tell me about your connection with the church. How far do you go back?
25 years. I moved to the Isle of Man to take up a position at Castle Rushen, and one of my students was the very well-known island organist Gareth Moore, and he asked me about where I was worshipping, and at that point I'd been going to Trinity. I'd come from a very small church in Nottingham, and I just felt lost at Trinity. And when I came here, Gareth was the organist here at that time, and it's become my family on the island, really, because I have no family here, being a come over that's turned into a stay over. But the Prom family is really my family here, and have been wonderfully supportive and nurturing, and it's where my children worshipped and where my grandchildren worshipped for a while as well. So it just feels like home to me.
You've been sitting alongside Stephanie as she's been talking about the vision for the future. What is it that particularly excites you about it?
I think it's the fact that we've got such an enormously flexible space that can really serve our community. And I think one of the things post-COVID is that increasingly people have been looking for some sort of spiritual connection or something extra in their lives, a spiritual dimension to their life, because I think that period of time when we were all forced to slow down and be more reflective actually created a space for people to think, there is actually something missing. And by having a non-threatening, non-judgmental space where people can just come and sit and be with God, I think that is a real benefit. And I think the building has so much scope and so much potential, which is why the working group was formed and why we were so determined that this beacon, this presence, this spiritual life raft on the promenade was going to need to survive. Because I think in the world that we live in 2025, a deeper connection is more essential than it has ever been, really.
I absolutely agree with you. I love that expression of spiritual life raft. I love that.
Well, I think one of the major things when we looked at our mission statement was inclusivity and including everybody. And certainly the gardeners, they have always been extremely welcome here. One of our members is Stephanie's dad, who is a gardener from his background. And I think one of the things we're hoping to do with Eco Church is to try to link up with possibly looking at an eco garden to connect the church and the prom and the beach, to look at how all of that can be interconnected together, to really embed the church in the community and make sure that it's seen as part of the landscape of Douglas and a place that people feel is theirs, that they can come into and are welcome in. And one of the big projects obviously was the Cafe Lingo, and I think that has been a huge gateway for many people, because Karen and Tim initially, and then the work is being continued, have done so much to link up other organisations, to bring people in, to give information to people who would struggle to find the correct place to find information from. And it is very much part of the Christian mission to actually be active and to see our faith in action. It's not just something that occurs for an hour on a Sunday morning. It's something that pervades the life and is here for the community throughout the week.
Absolutely. Now, you have a particular interest in films.
Yes. Well, I mean, the building has been used as a film location for a young man called John Crane, who directed a film here. But it's also, the basement would make such a good small cinema space. And we are really lacking an art house cinema in Douglas. We've had all sorts of promises of huge projects that have never materialised. We've got a space that is already dark, that already has the acoustics for it. And we've got the One World Centre based here, who can use films as part of their outreach. We've got Cafe Lingo, for whom it would be absolutely totally appropriate to extend that to having foreign language films. And I think there is a real demand for non-mainstream cinema in a space where you can actually stay and have a discussion afterwards, as we can all watch isolated on Netflix, but actually to be able to discuss a film, to have a talk about it, perhaps have some food around it as well, that those kind of things are not currently available. And I think many cinemas across have evolved in that way and have more than just sitting and watching the film. It would be lovely to be able to have a film club based here and to particularly look at the eco dimension and to look at the different languages dimension as well. Christian films as well, which are never going to get shown in the mainstream cinema.
No. But this is the beauty of an art house cinema, that you can pull all these films in and have a wide range, and you're perfectly placed for it.
Absolutely. I mean, we have many people who say, oh, parking's difficult, but it isn't, because we've got the huge car park for where the former Safeway Archway building is that I think it can be an arts hub as well, because we've already got so much use by the theatres. We've got no black box theatre in Douglas, and so there's the potential to develop that in our upper hall in the longer term, to give more flexibility. And it's wonderful that we've got the width of the Gaiety. The Gaiety is a very expensive venue to hire, and so smaller theatre groups or some of the travelling theatre companies from the UK, if we had a different space, and yes, there's Bala Community Studio Theatre, but that's already at capacity. So I think there is a demand for more flexibility. And obviously exhibition space, because we've lost the Sail Gallery. It was a tremendous facility on the Prom, and obviously augmented things like the cafes that are along the Prom as well, so that there was a destination for people to go. We hosted part of the Methodist Art Collection here, and we had a significant footfall for that. And I think it showed that we've got a space where we can display artwork, and there's a huge number of artists on the island. It would be lovely to have an exhibition space that they can use as well. And the building is just so perfect for that, because we've got so many different zones and different ways that we can look at the lighting. We've been looking at creative ways of doing our lighting that would enhance worship, but would also enable us to have a flexible space for exhibitions as well.
Are you excited about the future, Amanda?
I am very excited about the future, because I just think we have got so much scope and so much potential and so much talent amongst the people in the church, and a real willingness to try things differently and, to look forward. Yes, we've got a heritage. We've been here since 1976, but we want a future. And to be able to do that, we're not just wanting to survive, we want to thrive, and we want to be offering something that actually reflects what our community wants. Before you arrived, I was a little concerned that there might be too much background noise, because there are so many people in the building tonight. We have dance groups rehearsing here. The Filipino community use the building quite extensively for parties. We're available for parties and functions, for birthday celebrations, all that sort of thing. So it's just buzzing. And, every month the stewards get a list of the lettings, and it just, we've had to extend it to 2 pages because the print was getting too small, because there's so much use, and things that people may not be aware exist, like the chess club that meets here, and there's all sorts of different activities. We have a board games club that meet here, and the most recent thing is Ed Space, which is a group that's set up to support men with their mental health and well-being. And so it's just constantly new things are developing, and once we've got the basement refurbished and developed, we'll have an even more welcoming, inclusive space for people to be able to use, and that's what church should be about. It's the service to the community, it's outreach. It isn't about necessarily getting bottoms on seats on a Sunday morning. It's about people seeing the church as a dynamic thing that serves its community and is reflecting our Christian ethos.
Stephanie, can I come back to you for a final word? Somebody listens to all that you've said. What would you recommend somebody came to?
Wednesday afternoon we have started again as a trial. It was Wednesday morning, now we've moved it to the afternoon between 2 and 4ish. A coffee catch-up. The doors are open. If you're walking past on a Wednesday afternoon and fancy a decent cup of coffee and some nice biscuits and cakes, we've got free Wi-Fi. We do funny teas as well. You come and stay as long as you like. Sit here, do your homework, read a book, whatever, read the newspaper. It's a warm space as well for people to come. We're going to try that and see how that goes. I know a lot of other churches do amazing lunches and coffees and things. So church facilities are great ways of supporting the community through warm spaces, particularly our more vulnerable members of society. But yeah, just come in the door, come and join us for a coffee.
The Prom Space is an exciting place to be. And Stephanie Gray, Amanda Walker, thank you for talking to us this morning, and we wish you every success. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Holocaust Memorial Day is on Tuesday the 28th of January. It's a day to remember the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust and the millions of people killed under Nazi persecution of other groups, and those who have died during more recent genocides in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia and Darfur. It's a day to remind us that, as we remember the dead, we also have a responsibility to challenge those who would distort or deny the past, or who discriminate and persecute today. We can all mark Holocaust Memorial Day by committing to making a better future for us all. Here on Manx Radio, Siobhan Fletcher will present a special programme to mark the day, and that's on Tuesday evening at 5:30, or available as a podcast immediately after broadcast. and our National Holocaust Memorial Day service, involving representatives of churches of all denominations and students from the island's secondary schools, will be this afternoon at 3 o'clock in the Roman Catholic Co-Cathedral Church of St. Mary here in Douglas, and everyone is welcome to attend. It was the late Leonard Singer who established the annual service when first he was elected to government, and always took an active part in the commemoration. Here he is, with a poem called Holocaust by Barbara Sonic.
We played, we laughed, we were loved. We were ripped from the arms of our parents and thrown into the fire. We were nothing more than children. We had a future. We were going to be lawyers, rabbis, wives, teachers, mothers. We had dreams, then we had no hope. We were taken away in the dead of night like cattle in cars, no air to breathe, smothering, crying, starving, dying. Separated from the world to be no more. From the ashes, hear our plea. This atrocity to mankind cannot happen again. Remember us, for we were the children whose dreams and lives were stolen away.
A Jewish lullaby, used in the film Schindler's List, and the island's Holocaust Memorial Day service is this afternoon in the Roman Catholic Cathedral Church of St. Mary in Hill Street, here in Douglas. You're asked to be in your seat no later than 2:45, ready for the start of the service at 3. Everyone is welcome to attend. Well, I couldn't have managed without a bit of help from Elema this morning, but I'm extremely grateful to Dave Moore, who'll be looking after sundown later. He'll be waiting to welcome you into our virtual lounge from 9 o'clock tonight. And, hopefully, I'll be back to normal next Sunday. Thank you to my guests, Stephanie Gray and Amanda Walker from the Prom Space, the Methodist Church on the Promenade here in Douglas, and, as always, my thanks to you for listening. These are Judith's words, wishing you a happy and peaceful week and a very good morning.
Station, Manx Radio.